Hi guys, I'm James. I'm 15, and a year ago I didn't believe in anything supernatural. I've considered any and all paranormal activities to be stories completely made up of various con men. But now that I personally have come across the supernatural, I absolutely do not know what to do. I grew up in a normal family. Dad and mom made enough money for a good living. I was the only child. We did not have any problems with housing or health. Everything was going great until I turned 10. At that point, our life turned into a total mess. My dad always loved drinking, but he was always able to control his urges thanks to his dignity, poise, and a clear work schedule. Everything changed after an envious colleague set him up. The bosses fined Dad first, and in a month they fired him with no severance pay. After that, Dad has fallen into heavy drinking. At first, he simply stayed at home, venturing outside only to get himself another beer. Then he began to look for drinking companions. Several times, these new friends simply left him unconscious in dark corners and snowbanks. Dad eventually got pneumonia, but that did not stop him from drinking. In half a year, my father began to steal valuables from our own house. He brought his loot to a pawn shop, exchanged it for money, and then bought booze. Mom and I tried to reason with him, but he simply refused to listen to us. The dad I had known before was a proud and strong man. I dreamed of growing up like him. But at the time, he transformed into a broken husk of a man. It seemed like the core of his personality was irreversibly damaged. Mom, of course, tried her best to drag Dad out of his terrible depression. At first, she tried to persuade him by arguments, to appeal to his feelings and professional pride. He refused to listen to her even once. Then, Mom resorted to serious measures. She turned to medications and droppers. Father did not want to admit that he had problems with alcohol. When he spoke to Mom, he promised her time after time that he'd stop drinking. But then he flushed the tablets down the toilet, escaped from hospitals, and celebrated his freedom with random people and booze in dark corners. When all the medical procedures proved to be of no use, Mom turned to magicians, sorcerers, and witches out of pure desperation. Each of those self-proclaimed wizards promised to instantly heal Dad from his addiction. Yet none of them helped us. They only performed some weird rituals and were an utter drain on our pockets. Any other woman would long since stop fighting and gave up. To be fair, I was already expecting a divorce in the nearest future and hoped to be left with Mom. After all, Dad clearly did not care about us at all, so why should we care so much about him? I was ready to leave him to his fate. But Mom still had some hope. When I found out that Mom underwent hypnosis courses, I got quite angry. I would understand if she resorted to some exotic medical procedures. But to my mind, the hypnosis was just another step dictated by Mom's desperation. I even quarreled with Mom, tried to dissuade, asked her to stop doing stupid things and do something useful instead. Alas, I failed to make Mom change her mind. She went to these courses every evening for 2 weeks straight, spent our last money on it. And then, when she received the diploma, she awaited till the hangover father came back home, dragged him into the kitchen, and locked the door behind her. For 3 hours I sat under the kitchen door, listening to the mom's illegible murmurs. I was afraid that Dad would attack Mom and was ready to jump in and help her. But, to my complete surprise, he didn't even yell at her. And when Mom finally unlocked the door, Dad went straight to the living room, laid on the couch, and immediately fell asleep. Since then, my father haven't touched a drop of alcohol. Even now, after a year, and he still flatly refuses to drink when someone offers him booze. Unfortunately, Dad lost his old temper together with the addiction. Before he turned into a drunkard, my father was a proud, smart, and stubborn man with his own point of view. Now he has turned into a spineless slave of my Mo. Dad no longer has an opinion of his own. Mother controls him like a living doll. But Mom seems to be completely satisfied with Dad's transformation. Moreover, she became aware of her newfound power and now uses her hypnotic abilities without any constraints. Now she is the head of the department at work. All her friends are afraid to contradict her, and the boorish salesman in the store around the corner bows when he sees my mom. Frankly speaking, I was very skeptical about her hypnotic powers until recently. Even the change that happened to my father did not convince me in her might. I thought that Dad simply degraded because of his addiction. Therefore, it was not difficult for my cunning mom to compel him. But I didn't believe that hypnosis could turn adult, serious people into frightened kids. I didn't believe it until I experienced my mother's powers myself. It happened a few weeks ago. I came home from school completely exhausted after a difficult exam. I wanted to eat and go to rest, but for some reason my mother really needed me to help her with a general cleaning. She asked me to vacuum the apartment. I just asked her to postpone the whole event to the day off. She flatly refused, and then I lost my temper. The last thing I remember is the scornful squint of my mom. I came to my senses an hour after a quarrel with a vacuum cleaner in my hands. I didn't remember at all what I was doing during that hour. But after that, my fatigue increased tenfold. I really didn't want to argue with Mom anymore. Son, I just finished vacuuming and went to my room. But I learned my lesson well. Since that terrible day, I have been the target of Mom's hypnosis 4 more times. And each time after the hypnosis fell off, I felt as if I had dragged 3 tons of bricks on my back. Now I understood why my father had turned into a living zombie. If he constantly felt so tired, I wholeheartedly sympathize with him. It is useless to even try to talk to Mom. After her hypnosis proved to be useful, she feels omnipotent. Moreover, Mother sincerely believes that her usage of hypnosis makes the world a better place and helps society. I tried to dissuade her, but at the end of our last conversation, she got angry and hypnotized me again. After that, I am scared to argue with her again. Most of those now cater to her every whim think the same. I've talked to several of her colleagues in secret. It turns out that even those who have sincerely loved and respected my mom are now afraid of her and even hate her. My mother is now perceived as a merciless dictator, and no one can do anything about it. Even the boss is afraid to stand up to my mom. Just imagine, earlier I thought that hypnosis existed only in the fairy tales, along with telepathy, mind reading, and all the other similar superpowers. And now, when I saw the power of hypnosis with my own eyes, I'm really afraid. How many other supernatural phenomena also exist in reality? Ghosts, zombies, werewolves, wizards. I don't even want to venture into details. Guess small kids feel the same way when they discover new facets of the surrounding world. I envy them. Most kids have parents who will always help them. And I, on the contrary, have nobody to lean on. Dad retreated deep into himself. It's impossible to get through to him. Mom revels in her newfound strength, and I will not risk asking her anything. Moreover, I need to be protected from her first of all. And last week, I noticed how my mother robbed the store. She collected a full cart of expensive products, for which she would have to pay more than half of her current salary. And then at the checkout, she stared at the store employee with her accursed hypnotic glaze. The unfortunate cashier just gave Mom her purchases without demanding a dime from her. Judging by how easy she performed the theft, it really wasn't her first time. I would never have believed it if someone told me a year ago that my mother resorted to robbery. She was a very honest person, and she taught me to be a law-abiding citizen. It seems she became drunk with her own power. Yesterday, by the way, my mother took a cab home and brought a huge TV with her. I can only assume that grocery stores were just the beginning, but now I'm afraid not only of my mom, but also for her. The cameras are everywhere. Sooner or later, the supermarket security will notice the shortage. They will launch an inspection, and the exploits of my hypnotist mom will come out anyway. Guess Mom can easily cope with 1 or 2 police officers. But what if they send a whole patrol after her? Someone will definitely not succumb to her hypnosis, become afraid, and open fire. And even the greatest hypnotist isn't bulletproof. Mom, of course, doesn't think about it at all. power went to her head, and she is sure that she can handle anything. But I really don't think so. Now I'm very scared and I do not know what to do. You can't fight the hypnosis, and I don't want to give up and turn into an eternally tired zombie. Sometimes I even think that a drunk dad looked much more human-like than he does now. Funny thing is that I really miss those times now. At least then I knew who was my friend and who was the enemy. Now, when I live in the same house with a zombie and a dangerous hypnotist, I have to be on guard against all. Now I'm searching for the place where my mother was taught hypnosis. I want to ask them how to counter this horror. And if they don't help, I'd run away from home. If Mom finds out about this, she will definitely transform me into another obedient zombie. But to my mind, there's simply no other way out of this terrible situation. And what about you? Has anyone ever hypnotized you? If you know how to deal with hypnosis, tell me about it in the comments. And of course, do not forget to subscribe to our channel.